Okay, this is Simon Parker for Citizen's Eye for Skyride 2011. I'm at the sort of Leicester Market activation zone, and you're going to see me doing my carbon footprint live with
Zena Zelton.
Hi Zena. Right, what do I have to do?
I'm going to ask you lots of questions about how you live.
Okay.
And I'm going to plug the answers into a computer, and it's going to tell us an average.
Right.
It'll give you an estimate basically of where you are. Some bits are more estimated than others, some bits are more accurate.
All right then, fire away.
So the first set of questions are about your home energy use. What kind of house do you live in?
Terrace house.
Is it mid-terrace or end terrace?
Mid.
That's always a good start. How many rooms does it have, not counting the bathroom?
1, 2, 3, 4.
How many people over 5 years old live there?
It's just me.
1. What fuel do you use? Is it mains gas, central heating?
Yeah, it's mains gas.
And it's terrace, so it would have been built before '96.
Yeah.
Does it have double glazing?
It does.
Does it have cavity walls? Do you know? When was it built?
It was what, pre-1900, so unlikely.
It definitely doesn't have cavity walls. Okay, so I'm putting you in the category that before '96 was some insulation and double glazing. Do you know what temperature you set your thermostat to in winter?
It's the lowest. It's actually, I don't know, it's not got the actual temperature, but it's lower than low. The lowest temperature.
So when you're living at home in winter, how many clothes do you wear? Do you wear 3,000 jumpers and move around to keep warm, or are you wearing a thin jumper and you don't have to move around to keep warm?
Yeah, I rarely have to put anything in other than a thin jumper.
Okay, so you're probably heating to 19 or 20 degrees then. And do you heat?
But I am like a penguin. People do call me the penguin at work.
That's quite useful. Do you heat the whole house to the same temperature, or do you close off some of the rooms and not heat them?
It depends. There's a mixture really. It depends how cold it is. You know, I won't heat the whole house necessarily if I don't need to.
Generally in winter, do you have a policy of closing doors and not heating rooms, or do you generally heat the whole house?
I probably generally heat the whole house.
Okay, so I'm going to put you down for all the same temperature. Do you turn it off at night and when you're out?
I do. Well, at night, not necessarily when I'm out.
Okay. So your heating is 1.1 tonnes. I'm going to write it down as you go, and I'll tell you how that compares to the national average, which is just below the national average, which is at 1.2.
Yeah.
And the most obvious thing looking at that you could do if you wanted to improve it a bit would be to turn your thermostat down even further.
Yeah.
Better still, close off some of the rooms and don't heat them at all.
Right.
And possibly get a tenant.
Yeah.
Which brings money in as well. Okay, water heating. Do you shower or do you bath?
Shower.
More than once a day, or less than once a day, or once a day?
Once a day.
Do you ever take? Is it a power shower?
No.
And do you ever take a bath?
Very, very rarely.
Okay. Do you have solar hot water?
Unfortunately not.
Yes, it wouldn't be common. 0.43. The national average is 0.5, so that's just below the national average again. Next one's about electricity. Do you know who your electricity supplier is?
Yes, E.ON.
Okay, so you're not with the green supplier. You can switch your electricity to someone like Good Energy. Now what they do is they only supply energy from renewable sources. There's no coal, gas, things like that.
Well, I've learned something there, and I'll definitely look into that, so thank you.
Ecotricity do supply also, so they're another company you can think about. A bit more expensive, but a bit more steady in price, I would say. Do you have low energy light bulbs in your house?
Yes.
All of them, or some of them?
All of them.
Every single one?
Every single one.
You don't have any evil halogen spots lurking in your house?
No.
Excellent. Do you have a fridge?
I do.
Is it a separate freezer, or do you have a fridge freezer?
It's a fridge freezer.
Okay. Do you use a tumble dryer regularly?
No.
Okay, so your domestic lighting and appliances is coming out to 0.46, which is almost half the national average, so you're doing pretty well on that one. So next question's about car use. Do you have a car?
No.
You don't have one. That's always a good sign. So what I'm now doing is I'm going through it and giving you the best case scenario for everything, because this programme doesn't believe that anyone could possibly never use a car. They assume that sometimes you get lifts, which I'm sure you do sometimes get lifts. So this is the...
Very occasional.
Do you ever go on long trips by car, like to Birmingham and that kind of distance or further? Okay, that's good. So it's not going to estimate you very high, but it's going to give you a kind of nominal.
Yeah.
Do you use a bike for short trips?
I do.
What a surprise. Yes, today I feel that is the common answer. On your average day, not 0.01 as opposed to 1.1.
Right.
And as you would expect, given that you don't have a car. So the next question is about bus and train.
Yeah.
In a typical week, do you travel by bus or train at all?
No.
And do you ever take long distance journeys by bus or train?
Only for work if I have to.
Do you want to include your work in this footprint, or do you want to stick to personal?
I'll stick to personal because I wouldn't go there voluntarily.
Okay. Then I think that's entirely reasonable. So you're on 0.06 for that one. Do you ever fly?
No. I
This
never
is a very
fly.
good thing, because if you did fly, your footprint would be about to go up massively.
No.
Whereas as it is, it won't. And you aren't thinking of flying at some point in the near future.
I never fly.
Good. Well, that's a very, very good thing, like I say. So the next set of questions is about food and drink.
Yep.
Do you eat meat and fish?
Oh, occasionally.
A couple of times a week?
Yeah.
Okay. How about cheese, eggs, dairy?
Guilty. Yeah.
Every day?
Yeah. I'm a bit
Cheese
of a.
every day?
I'm a bit of a pizza fiend, so yeah.
Okay. Do you tend to cook from fresh, or do you often eat takeaway or processed foods?
Well, it's a mixture, but I tend to eat fresh when I can.
Okay. So, would you say you eat a range of ready meals, chilled, frozen, and processed foods, plus some fresh foods? Would that sound like the right category?
I would think it'd be more like the other way around, where I'd eat mostly fresh, but very, very occasionally.
Well, the next option down is prepared at home, but using mostly processed ingredients. But from what you're saying, you eat quite a bit of pizza.
Yeah, but I make
Oh,
them
you make the
myself.
pizza from
Yeah, I make the
scratch.
bread
Okay,
myself.
Then I will give you prepared at home, but using mostly processed ingredients. And do you know where your food comes from? Do you mostly shop at the supermarket? Do you mostly shop at the market? Do you get a veg box? Do you grow it?
I try to use the local shops when I can, but
A lot of
With
it's
the-
from supermarkets.
the tyranny of supermarkets now, it's hard
it is
to
a
avoid.
problem, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Is any of it organic?
Yes,
Most or some?
some.
And do you compost your food waste?
No, but there's very rarely any waste with it just being me.
Like potato peelings,
Oh,
outsides of vegetables, that kind of thing. Does it go in the bin, or does it go in a compost bin?
yeah, it goes in the bin mainly because guilty.
So you're on 2.08 for that, which is just below, well, it is well below the national average. That's because you don't eat that much meat, and meat has a particularly high carbon footprint. But from what you're saying about cheese, that's going to be pushing you up quite a lot. Cheese has a really high carbon footprint, much higher than you'd expect, and it's because it comes from cows, and cows produce methane. And methane
I thought as much.
methane is very, very potent.
I know the methane trail.
So the last question is about income. You have the option of not giving me your income.
Yeah.
But what this does is it's trying to work out your consumption footprint.
Yeah.
When you have money, you spend it on something. Things you buy have a carbon footprint. Or you put it in the bank, and the bank invests it in something which has a carbon footprint. So by definition, money has a carbon footprint. The more
Right.
money you have, the higher your carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Less than 10,000, 10 to 20,000, 20 to 30,000. I'll show you the
20 to
categories.
30.
20 to 30, okay. So it's putting you on 2.37 for that, which is just below the national average. And the government spends 1.7 tonnes on your behalf each year building hospitals and roads and schools and things like that. And so your carbon footprint is 8.21. Now you're quite right.
8.2.
You are better than average. You have a fairly good footprint there.
Yep.
The national average is almost 12 tonnes. So you're roughly 2/3 of the national average. Unfortunately, where we actually need to get to for the world to be sustainable and to tackle climate change is to 1.5 tonnes each.
Lot of way to go then.
For everyone, not just for
Yeah.
you. And like you say, you're doing fairly well.
Yeah, mind you, that is a real kind of eye-opener, isn't it? See that we've got to get down to those
And
levels.
so the kinds of things I would suggest, if you were to say what's the main things I could do, I'm going to say like one easy and one hard thing in each category. Heating your home, share your house,
Yeah.
turn your temperatures, your thermostats down, close off some rooms. Water you're actually doing pretty well on. Electricity, run less gadgets.
Yeah.
And make sure you turn them off on standby. It does actually make a real difference. You don't drive, that's brilliant. You don't fly, that's brilliant. Your public transport's higher than average because you don't do those other things, and that's as it should be. Food and drink. Cut out that cheese.
That's going to be
down
tough.
on that cheese. Just eat less of it.
Yeah. Well, I have been doing.
Yeah.
Must admit.
Then try and find things that you like, but which feel a decent substitute for it. So it's not like you're eating something that you don't like. It's something you still like, but it's cheese. Yeah. Make sure it has a lower carbon footprint as well. Don't replace it with frozen shrimps, for example.
Yeah.
And then, have less money. Give your money to insulation charities or something like that. Okay, so that's your footprint. And what we're doing is we're running a series of 7 meetings for anyone who wants to reduce their carbon footprint. So let's say you said, yes, I want to reduce my carbon footprint. Then I would say, give me your details. And when I've got enough people in your area, 6 to 10 people in your local area, I'll get in touch and I'll say, do you want to come to a series of 7 meetings, about an hour and a half each, where you actually as a group support each other to think through the things you could change, and then you actually support each other to make changes. So it's like Alcoholics Anonymous, but for carbon reduction.
I love that description, and I think that's a good place to end. Thanks for doing that today. I'll post this on Citizens Eye so people will see the process actually happening and what you can offer them. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.